All right, all right, all right. All right, all right, all right, all right. Robin Lundberg Show back in full effect. Welcome. Good morning. How's everybody doing? There is a lot I actually want to get to today, so it's going to be a bunch of topics, and then I'll get to the comments at the end. Of course, as always, member chats, super chats will go first. All of those things, as is usually the case. And again, a smorgasbord of topics. Just a reminder, I am leaving for a wedding tomorrow, super duper early, back like in my old radio show days. So no show tomorrow. I will get a video at worst up after the Fever game tonight, because I know, the Fever faithful are here and gathered. Where's the Lexi Hull photo? This I really like. Going for it. Lexi Hull going for it. Give me your picks for Fever Dream in the comments section. But I wanted to start with a salute to the Golden State Valkyries. The Valkyries vanquished by the Minnesota Lynx. But what an inaugural season for Golden State. I mean, it's really worth a little bit of praise and recognition what they were able to accomplish, because the Valkyries are an example of what the WNBA can be. So much focus on Caitlin Clark and, of course, the Fever. But here comes this expansion team that's able to fill out its arena, that gets all this support organically and feels like a franchise with a future. Because if you're a free agent, if you're a star free agent, and you see the way that team plays and the way they've been received, you might be saying, sign me up when it comes to a contract. The way that they were received was worth noting. This was the fans in Golden State, or I think it's San Jose technically, last night after the game. So sticking around to honor the team, salute them. And, the Valkyries really with a unique playing style. They play a very modern style of basketball, get up a lot of threes, spread the floor. They also scouted very well internationally. That's how they're able to build, a really good team in their first season. Veronica Burton was a revelation this year. And then Natalie Nakase, of course, appropriately winning WNBA Coach of the Year. Though the commissioner doesn't exactly know how to pronounce her name, which was a bit of a blunder, I would say. Just a wee bit of a blunder for the commissioner of the WNBA to not get the Coach of the Year's name right in presenting the award.
Valkyries coach, Natalie Nakase. Don't come up yet. A little round of applause. Valkyries coach, Natalie Nakase. Don't come up yet. A little round of applause.
There you go. Natalie Nakase, or Nakase, who did a tremendous job with the Golden State Valkyries. So just a round of applause for what they were able to accomplish this year. Let's go on to the Liberty and the Mercury. A really surprising outcome there. The way that this went down, the way that the Mercury spanked the Liberty in Brooklyn and then talked some smack after the fact. In fact, this was the Mercury stars at the podium. Kind of like Satu Sabali's fit here, I ain't going to lie.
Honestly, I was shocked. I don't think it was loud to start. It just, I don't know. I was shocked. I was expecting less to have to deal with some crowd, some courtside people. It's quiet.
So what's it going to be like to play a series deciding game at home this Friday in front of your X Factor?
Louder than here. Oh. You said, you know what? It will be lit. I love playing in Phoenix. It is the vibe is unmatched. Every time I played in Phoenix as an opponent, I was always thinking, this is good. This is good. But now just feeling it, being embraced by the fans, they will stay till the end of the games. Today, you looked in the stands, they were already leaving a little bit. our fans would never leave. Like they're there, they're backing us up, they're talking from the sideline. Like it's different.
Wow. I actually think that the crowd in Brooklyn is fantastic. I've been there a bunch, but still, some interesting words from Satu Sabali, who didn't hold back there. Now, in the midst of this, I do want to say one thing when it comes to the Liberty. Sabrina Ionescu is very fortunate she hit that big shot in Game 3 of the WNBA Finals last year, because since then, she's been dreadful shooting the ball in the postseason. Now, she had the hand injury, so that's a bit of an excuse, but she was 1 of 19 in a decisive game. Since that big shot, she's 15 of 65. That's 23% from the floor. 5 of 35. That's 14% from 3 in the playoffs. And seems to skate scrutiny free. You know, when you're a big time star, generally what comes along with that is some of the criticism. And Sabrina Ionescu's got great PR. Shouts to her, because you don't hear a damn word to the contrary in the midst of all this, despite her having consistently put up some bricks. So, you know, I did want to bring that up because she was also picked on defensively in that game a lot as well. So Sabrina able to skate a little scrutiny in all of these things as the Liberty lose that game to the Mercury. So there are some of the stories from last night. I talked about the playoff format yesterday. You know, it's interesting to me because there was actually somebody who said something to the contrary. This was on ESPN. It was Andrea Carter, which I'm surprised anyone would have this take at this point in time about the WNBA playoffs.
I will admit, when I first heard the change, I was excited about it. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Everybody gets a home game. That's great. But as I've watched it now play out and sitting here today, after watching those great games last night, I don't like it. I feel like this format, whether you win, the reward for winning isn't good enough. And the punishment for losing isn't bad enough. Think about this. Just hear me out for a second. As a higher seed, why do we play games in the regular season? Why do we even have a regular season? Because seeding matters. When you are the higher seed, you get 2 chances at home, and you can close it out at home. But if you lose to the lower seed, you should lose the opportunity to close out at home. If you lose to the lower seed, think about it. The Aces lost to the lower seed. They lost to Seattle, and they still get to go close out at home.
Well, that's the way playoff series have always worked. Sorry to let you know that. You know, the way it was structured was a little odd, where the home team gets to force the elimination without the other team having a home game. So that's why I like the change so much. And it's hard to argue against the results in this postseason, which has been very exciting. That's a nuts take, in my opinion, right now, after what's taken place. Definitely. I don't get it. Of course, with all of this, there's always going to be some ratings talk in the midst of the WNBA playoffs. And I don't, you know, this is why I'm not starting with this. I don't like rage baiting and the like. And you know, I've said so many things about this topic in the past, but you see it getting shared on graphics and all that. So the Fever Dream game on Sunday down 40%. Somebody asked me about this yesterday. Game 1, 1.8 million viewers last year. Game 1, 951,000 viewers this year. So it wasn't as high without Caitlin Clark. Shocker. Stunner. The ratings for the WNBA have fallen without the sensation who made the WNBA what it is today. Stunner. With that said, the Fever are still drawing way more than the WNBA used to. And again, the rest of the WNBA numbers are higher than they used to be as well. So that is growth. That is progress. We all know Caitlin Clark is the most popular. I could come on and do a show and say the sky is blue every day. Is that going to be entertaining? Unless it changes color. So that's why I'm not hammering. I mean, I know I have a lot of Caitlin Clark fans who listen to me. But, okay. Yes. Duh. And I know it more than anybody else. I mean, there's basically a Caitlin Clark economy. And people who have been a part of that Caitlin Clark economy are suffering because Caitlin Clark is out. But, I'm doing my best to, cover the rest of the league and the story and enjoying the product and just shouting that from the mountaintop all the time. I don't know what good that does anybody. Right? And again, the Fever's numbers are significantly higher. Let me find the Front Office Sports article on it from yesterday, because Colin, who I've chatted it up with at some of these games, did a really nice job presenting it. So I'm going to shout him out. I don't know how to pronounce his last name, but here's his post on it right here. So total WNBA 794,000. Oh, this is his old article. Let me find his new. He pinned the tweet. Sorry, so I got it confused. Oh, here we go. All right. Fever Dream 951,000, down 47% year over year. Other 3 game ones, average of 545,000, up 28% year over year. So this is how it was laid out in the article. The Lynx and the Valkyries, 680,000, up 66%. The Fever and Dream down 47%, but still, like, look at the down 47%. It's still like way higher than the up 66%. Same thing with the, up 19%. The Fever game is almost twice as much as the Liberty Mercury game. Now that's one is on AB. The Fever Dream game is on ABC, which gives it an advantage. Not quite as much of an advantage, but it's not apples to apples completely. But then again, those are signs of growth. Because going into the playoffs, there's no expectation for Caitlin Clark to play at all. And Fever games are still doing a good number, and the other games are still doing better numbers than they were before. So there's the ratings story for you. There's the rating story for you. What else do we have on the docket here today? This is a little bit of an NBA story. I'm going to start weaving in some NBA stuff here and figure out how to weave in as many different topics as we can, whatever interests, whatever you guys are into. And I want to get to the Fever predictions at the end of the show. But this was an interesting situation to me. Trey Young and Pat Beverly going back and forth. Patrick Beverly, had a nice NBA career, no question. But is a talker, right? And now in the day and age of podcasts, a lot of folks have podcasts and they are able to clap back in the midst of these things. And that is what Trey Young did in regards to what Pat Beverly had to say. So let me share with you what Trey said in response to Pat Bev. Here were Trey Young's comments.
You said it. You went to the playoffs 9 times. I've only been to the playoffs 3. You're right. You have 6 more playoff appearances than me. Let's bring up some more facts. You've been to 1 conference finals. I've been to 1 conference finals. What year was that for you? Just another fact, year 9. The year I made it was year 3. Just a fact. You want to know another one? You averaged 7 points and 2 is. I don't even know why I'm doing this. Like I'm really not even here to talk about my numbers, but here they are. Let's get into some more facts. Actually, you talk about a winner. What have you won? Tell me, what have you won? And don't respond with that like sympathy. I won in life. I won in basketball, because you did, man. You made it to the NBA. There's very few many people that can say that. But at the same time, bro, it's levels to this shit. It's different timetables. I get it. You're a little bit later into your career. I was 19, about to be 20, going into my rookie season. Do you want to know your age going into your rookie season? You were 24 your first year in the NBA. So you're talking about uncomfortable. Man, you don't know what uncomfortable is. You talk about winning and impact winning and all these things. You've been on some teams with some big-time players. How about I go through a list of these guys? LeBron, Giannis, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, Ant-Man, Cat. And we're not even going to talk about how we celebrate play-in wins. I win play-in games on the road, and I'm ready to get to the playoffs. You win play-in games at home, and you standing on the scores table acting like it's a championship. We celebrate wins different too. But let me get back to these guys. You've had some great teammates over these years that you've only been able to make the conference finals with because your impact was that strong. One time, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, Sweet Lemon Pepper Lou, and Dwight Howard. I can go on and on. Them is just the Hall of Famers.
So I kind of like Trey Young sticking up for himself right there. I kind of like it. Because I'll say this, Trey Young is the most underrated player in the NBA. People talk about him like he's some sort of bum because he's not a defensive stalwart. Well, this is a guy who's gone to the Eastern Conference Finals, who's got playoff game winners, who's led the entire NBA in total points and total assists in the same season, who averaged 24 and 12 last year. Those are not regular numbers. He also hasn't played with a bunch of superstars. So it's not like he's had a ton of help. So I get where he's going to defend himself from Patrick Beverly, who does celebrate on top of the table for play-ins when, Trey Young isn't getting enough credit perhaps for what he's done in the playoffs and his career so far. That's, I don't mind him taking off there and going at Pat Bev a little bit to defend himself. I think that is, within his rights. And I think that was a worthy comment from Trey Young. Fair enough, right? Fair enough. Comments. I'll get to the comment section in a second. I didn't want to start with this because I knew it would take over the whole show, but I'm not afraid to talk about stuff either. So I just wanted to touch on this because I did touch on the Charlie Kirk situation at the beginning of a program recently. And there was what happened with Jimmy Kimmel last night. And there's so many reactions to it. And when it comes to free speech and censorship and cancel culture, you could ask, is it Uchi Wally or is it One Mike? Because there are a lot of people who tend to boast about how everybody should have free speech and cancel culture is the worst. And then as soon as it goes the other way, they want it to go the other way. I mean, these sort of ideals cannot be convenient, right? Just because you don't like what somebody has to say. And here's what Jimmy Kimmel did have to say. This is the clip that has him probably not returning to a show, if I'm guessing.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between.
So there's that. I mean, it was basically people take that as an insinuation that the shooter was MAGA. I got a bunch of stuff to say about this. And it's not political. Because this is what is driving me insane about all of these things. That everything has to be viewed through the prism of left and right and not wrong and right. I don't have a side. My side is what I think is right. My side is human compassion and empathy. What happened to Charlie Kirk was horrifying. Anybody celebrating it, that is disgusting. At the same time, my understanding from Charlie Kirk, who I really didn't know much of, I would scroll and see, I kind of got the gist of it, but I didn't really know who he was until this happened. And from watching stuff in the aftermath of it, I mean, some of his ethos was prove me wrong, right? Any perspective, any opinion is open for debate. And what happened with this Jimmy Kimmel situation, look, when you say something, freedom of speech is not freedom from consequences. So you can say stuff and get in trouble. That's happened forever, right? So I'm not saying that that can't be the case where you can't say something that gets yourself in trouble. I mean, I don't know how the Fox News dude still has a job after he just said, homeless people should be euthanized. So there's that. I mean, that was said on television in the last week. And you don't quite see the same level of outrage versus people weaponizing anything that's said about Charlie Kirk. And in Kimmel's situation, what makes it concerning is the big picture aspect of it. Not that I was sitting there watching Jimmy Kimmel every night, but because there was a merger that's in the process that needs FCC approval. And the FCC is pressuring to get rid of Kimmel. And that pressure is coming from on high from the president of the United States as well. So there are authoritarian things at play in all of this. But all I want to say is that I'm concerned about all this all around. I'm concerned about all this all around. And violence, I don't want to see. Like I said the other day after Charlie Kirk would happen, I said I hate guns. And people said I made a political statement. I didn't make a political statement, bro. That has nothing to do with politics to me. I don't say that because one side is pro-gun and the other side is anti-gun. I say it because I hate guns. And I think they're killing instruments. And if it were up to me, they'd all be melted. That's my opinion. You don't have to agree, but they're the common denominator in every single shooting, right? So that's what I said. I just don't like it. The image of it, watching that video, I watched the video of the shooting up in Buffalo too, and the imagery is horrifying. So I hate it. I loathe it, not because of any political standing. And it feels like anytime anything happens, people want to view it through the prism of the soft liberals and the woke are the worst, or the right-wing crazies are fascist. And I've always seen Democrats and Republicans argue it, but when did we get to such a point where we can't actually have productive and healthy discourse? And it doesn't have to be side blaming, because to me, the whole Kimmel situation is a side effect of that. Because he said something that could be interpreted about one side or the other, and people have to take their sides. Makes me beside myself. I don't know. I don't have anything. I'm not solving the problem. I ain't gonna solve the problem. Right? Like, people vote for who they vote for. Certainly some of the concerns were pre-existing, the election. But my goodness. It's just, I said this during COVID is when I really noticed how polarized and how nuts everybody was, when every day was like mask, no mask, vaccine, no vaccine, every single day. And then something like this can't happen without me seeing the left, the right, the left, the right. Do I go like that? Do I go look at people? Do I wear special infrared glasses when I go outside? Well, I can identify a right winger there. I can identify a left winger there. No. No. All right. That's all I got to say about that right now. I'm not trying to. I could talk about this. It's funny because the Caitlin Clark stuff and everything like that has basically has all these political implications that we've dove into for a while. But it's concerning. It's scary. It's scary where, I even I got to worry about what I say, right? Luckily, it's my own channel, but I got to worry about what I say. Everybody's got to worry about what they say. And in the aftermath, somebody getting shot in the throat, all I can think is, that's horrible. That's like, how is there another thought? You don't have to like what the person said. I don't know what there's another thought process around it. So it's kind of stunning. and it's concerning. All right, y'all. Like and subscribe. I'll get to the comment section here in just a second. Again, reminder, I am headed out to a wedding tomorrow morning, bright and early tomorrow morning. So I will be out of town this weekend. I will get there's a chance I go live later today, but most likely I will do. Go ahead, most likely I'll just do a video recap after tonight's game, win or loss for the Fever, and then I'll play it by ear. I'll bring my equipment just in case, but it is my good buddy's wedding. So I'm trying to get away and enjoy myself over that weekend. Let me see what the member chats and super chats have to say. Kentucky Rick says, can the Island of Hardship Misfits pull a W tonight? Heck yeah, they can. Like I said before, the Dream are very beatable, especially if you hit them hard and fast. All right, predictions, Fever or Dream tonight. Get those in as well. What up, Kev? You're talking about the Valkyries, I think, here had the Fever's number and they played fast. Yeah. Well, the Valkyries, their success or failure a lot of times came down to how many threes they hit because they get a lot of them up. Kathy Bunglebert, yeah, getting Natalie Nakase's name wrong is pretty rough. Commish screwing up the name reminds me of when Roger screwed up Mariota's name when he was drafted. Mad that the series are more entertaining. Crazy take. That's from the Andrea Carter clip that I played. Joe Lala, WNBA should have moved to the Fever playoff rule long ago. Fun, exciting games can be curated with adapting the rules. Yeah. I don't know how anybody could be against the way that the rule changes have gone into effect. I mean, it's just made for a more entertaining product. Yes, twofold. It looks like Trey Young did indeed take it personally. Did indeed. Twofold says, I like Kimmel as a show host, though. Just everything is political now. It's crazy and pure poisonous manipulation and distasteful. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't have I did not have an opinion. I did not, let me not say I didn't have an opinion because I get taken the wrong way. I didn't have a wealth of knowledge about Charlie Kirk before what happened. I just saw a human being murdered in front of me, and I was horrified because that's how I react when I see a human being murdered on camera, assassinated. I was horrified. I later, looked into things he said, and I understand fully why some people despised some of what he said. I also, found some of the videos engaging in the sense of there was an actual conversation being had in some of those forums. But regardless, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you like Jimmy Kimmel or you like Charlie Kirk or you like Donald Trump or you like Joe Biden or Barack Obama or whomever. I like human life. And I don't want people I disagree with or even hate. I don't really hate anybody, but I don't want them assassinated. And then I don't want revenge on anybody who speaks ill of them either. Like the whole, I don't know. Chris Ward, culture did not cancel him. ABC did. What happened to Charlie Kirk should not happen to anyone. It is a tragedy. It ain't as simple as ABC canceling him. Not quite that simple. I mean, from some of the reports that I read, ABC, didn't necessarily think he said anything that wrong. And you could take what Jimmy Kimmel's comments, they were worded poorly and it wasn't that much of a joke, I guess, is part of the problem too. But what he was really saying there was, in my opinion, my interpretation of his comments was they're trying to do everything they can to distance themselves from it. Not to say that the shooter was MAGA per se, but that it was definitely a leftist liberal, and there has been a ton of that out there. And there is this rush to find out, was he MAGA? Was he left? Whatever. Does it matter? Does it matter? There have been plenty of people on the left who have done atrocious, heinous things. There have been plenty of people on the right who have done atrocious, heinous things. Can we not agree when something is atrocious and heinous? And come to an accord there? And maybe have a discussion on what is leading to atrocious and heinous things, how to dampen the atrocious and heinous things, and how to treat each other with a level of kindness, level of respect, level of empathy as a fellow human being? Jesus. But why it's not as simple in this case is that, the FCC is putting pressure on. You have Nexstar and Sinclair and these broadcast companies trying to merge, and the pressure coming, and the pressure coming from the president of the United States. Let's be real, but I'm not going to lie. I mean, he's putting out like Colbert needs to go, Kimmel needs to be next. Now I think it's Fallon, and I don't even watch any of these shows. Doesn't matter to me if they're not on the air. What matters to me is what it represents. And so I'm concerned when there's political violence against somebody. I'm concerned when somebody says something racist and horrible. I'm concerned when there's authoritarian, tendencies being thrown around and flourishing. I'm concerned by all of it. Because I don't view myself through the lens of Democrat or Republican or left or right. Jimmy hasn't been funny to me personally in probably 15 years. That being said, him getting his show taken is crazy. Diana says free speech is using my remote to switch the channel. That's true too. And like even with the shooter, like I don't know, I don't. To be honest, I'm like not even that interested in what the shooter did, thought, or it doesn't matter. All right. I just wanted to get it out off my chest a little bit, and I felt like we have the audience for it and the forum for it. So I appreciate you guys. Like I said when the Charlie Kirk thing happened, I love you. I do. I love, I care about people. I teach my kids to not treat people differently, no matter where they come from, what language they speak, what their skin color is. Treat people with respect. And certainly that would go toward whether they are left or right or whatnot. And when we get to a point where people are just polarized so much that they want the destruction of a side or they're celebrating a death, you ain't healing. That's hard to heal from. Look, I mean, everything, Diana, is a worry at this point in time. When you see what happens there, All right, Fever Dream predictions. Get those in. Let's end with that. Let's switch it to something a little bit more positive, upbeat. Who's got the fever? Who's got the dream? Get them in. Get them in. Let's go. Rack them up. Who wins that game? Also, you got the Aces in the Storm tonight, too, by the way. It's another one. That's another one, which is a good testament to the new format, as I said on yesterday's show. Fever, says Charles T. Referees win. Fever, of course. Fever by 2. Fever in my heart, dream in my head. Look, the Fever are you can never count them out. That's for sure. Can never count them out. I just want the winning Fever to show up. Any other? Corgi. Yeah, so get those likes, subscribes in. Like I said, I'm off to that wedding tomorrow. Hope I didn't never mind. I don't have to second guess myself in any way or not. Hit those thumbs ups, like, subscribes, get those comments in. I got a few more minutes. I'm not in a rush, but I wish, man. I wish. I have that like Caitlyn Oh, this was one thing I didn't get into. Why is there so little transparency in the WNBA? Players can just stay home or remove fans without giving insight or answer hard questions, let alone go to the presser. Where's the journalism? The Alicia Gray thing from the other day, I didn't really touch on that because the fan did come back, but the quick rush to like villainize Indiana Fever fans, it's out of control. Like online, social media, you saw that the Chicago game. I remember I went to the Chicago game in Indianapolis, the first game of the season, and when the Angel Reese Caitlin Clark thing happened, I could just like see the discourse in my head, right? Like I saw what happened with Clark and Reese. I saw Caitlin sort of, the little shove, and then Reese get up and come at her. And in my mind, I'm thinking, well, there's First Take, there's this show, there's that, there's the next however many weeks of programming. This is about to be on and popping. And then I remember the post-game stuff, but the Fever smacked the sky in that game. People were excited about the season to start. And all of a sudden, I land back in LaGuardia, and I get the email from the WNBA about how they're investigating what was said or not said. And I just remember this better not be about claims on Twitter or whatever, social media, because I was there. Like, and when you're there, not to say I'm not omniscient, I can't see and hear everything. But that was the most normal sports environment I've ever been a part of, like just as normal as any sports environment. So the fact that anything could have been said or done there was like hard to believe. That's not to say it didn't happen, and I wanted to give the benefit of the doubt. But it certainly seemed like it was only in social media, and then they didn't find anything, which kind of verified that, right? Like, which is like, come on, y'all really did this at the start of the season? And then what happened the other day with Gray and the fan, people are quick to say, oh, look, it's the Fever fans, without knowing what was said. Now, there are a bunch of accounts online, various, again, this is just like, we didn't hear from Alicia Gray, so I don't know what she said, right? Like, I don't know what her account was, but there are a bunch of different accounts I saw one on X. I saw several on Reddit with this sort of take. The guy in the black hat yelled to Lexia Hull, was running to guard Gray, and said, "You're good, Lex. She's not even trying anymore." And then Gray got upset. So normal heckling, normal sports heckling from these accounts. Now, anybody can go online and post anything, so I don't know without actual firsthand accounts. But this is why you don't rush to judgment. This is why I didn't blow it into a story. This is why I try not to waste my time and energy on something like that. PM Donna says, have you ever taken a look-see around the WNBA subreddit? What are your thoughts? LOL. Yeah, I think those subreddits are a little extra. The things that they ban, the things that they, prop up. And, the whole WNBA discourse has opened my eyes to things that I didn't think I'd see in sports before, really. It's basically fan base incrimination without true evidence to scale the situation. Well, yeah, but that's from the outlets that rush to publish stuff. I think the Sporting News wrote a column about, again, the Fever fans are doing and then people want cool points from that too, because they feel like they're, earning clout or something. None of it, sports fans heckle, they say stuff. Of course, nobody should say anything out of pocket, anything racist, hateful, genuinely hateful, shouldn't be tolerated. Fans should be thrown out. But at the same time, there are always multiple sides to a story. And just because a fan and a player get into it doesn't necessarily mean the fan did anything terrible. PM Donna says the WNBA discourse makes this progressive feel like a Republican quite often. I think that's kind of some of the energy that happened politically too, in the sense of where there was a movement right from people on the left in a certain ideological manner, but maybe not to the point where they're pressing vote for a certain name. I don't know, man. I don't know. It gets tiresome after a certain point in time. But there were enough online accounts that make me believe, especially because I think the guy was allowed back to his seat, make me believe that whatever took place there was not actually all that bad. But I haven't heard from Gray either. I would want to hear her perspective too. And again, this all started at that season opener, which was so dumb. I still can't believe the WNBA announced that they were doing the investigation. As if they the amount of sway that social media has on the league is out of control. Out of control. Because there's such a difference between social media and real life. Like when you're in these arenas, you don't hear people talking about so much of this nonsense. Like actually they're cheering or booing or whatever the case may be. They're not like, go white girl. That's just not what's happening. And on social media, some of this discourse gets amplified so much, and you see the players react to it all the time. And content creators react to it all the time, right? Because it's easy content. That's why I don't do videos on any and everything that I could rage bait or clickbait on. Just not going to do it. But in that instance, the WNBA reacting to what happened on social media was such a blunder. Because they could have, if they wanted to, I have no problem with them investigating anything. If they think there could be wrongdoing, investigate it. That's fine. But you don't have to announce it. Because all they did by announcing it was open Pandora's box. And then, they had to shut it kind of meekly a little bit later. So, WNBA ain't the first sport that has fans saying stuff out of pocket. All right, y'all. That'll about do it for me today. Any other comments, likes, subscribes? You can get them in right now. All these fan altercations and allegations. I just want to know what that one ref said to CC in the Sun game to get her to react like she did. Yeah. Well, remember there was also the Sun game last year that somebody got kicked out for somebody with a credential seemed to be harassing Caitlin. Am I going to get a pair of Angel's signature shoes? Probably not, but I don't. I'm not hating on them. I think they look pretty good. Let me look at the latest. I saw did they drop? I seen people. I mean, I dig them. I'm not mad at her shoes. That's for sure. Oh, sorry. Accidentally clicked on a link there or a comment. All right, y'all. Good luck to the Indiana Fever tonight, Fever fans. I will have a video for you, if not a live later tonight, depending on how it goes, how I feel. Thank you, Bob. Again, out of town this weekend at a wedding. I'll bring my stuff just in the event I have a spare moment or something crazy happens. But I am trying to enjoy the weekend away with my good buddies. You're my best friends, really. You know, they've been my best friends since high school. So hanging out with my best buddies for the weekend in celebration and the like, and getting a very rare little respite. So going to try to enjoy that. So if you don't see anything from me over the weekend, that would be why. Thank you. Thank you all, as always, for being here and hanging out with me. Be back with lives next week. We'll see where we stand when it comes to the WNBA playoffs, what other topics we want to tackle. Thank you for the cordial and civil responses to the other stuff I talked about today. Also, it's cool. Cool to see that I can articulate myself in that regard and talk about those things and, not have the comments trying to cancel me or whatever, or people on, because I know I guarantee you there are people on both sides of the aisle that are watching this show right now. We can do a members event next week for sure, Chris. No problem. Kentucky, Rick. Thank you, Robin. Always keep the human goggles on and you'll be fine. But that is that'll do it for the show today. And until the next time, yeet.